Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gypsy Poet Radio here on blogtalkradio.com/Gypsy Poet. I am the Gypsy Poet, and of course with me is the mysterious, lovely, and wonderful, and sparkling girl George. Yes, people, girl George. Say it with me, people, girl George, girl George, girl George. And a wonderful afternoon we got because we got another George on the show who is awesome, and I just absolutely love the name. It is George.Alexander of the Flamin'Groovies. Everybody with me?
Hi, George. How are you doing?
Oh, very, very good. Yeah, I'm. I was rather honored that the royal family named their kid after me, man, when he was just born. I thought that was
cool.
Yeah,
me too. I like that.
Maybe they're big fans.
You've been with the Flamin'Groovies ever since the beginning, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe even before that. Since at least, I think we're 65.
Yeah. What were they named before the Flamin'Groovies?
Well, we started out as a group called Chosen Few, but then, after a while we began to realize there's like 100 other Chosen Fews out there, and it was a little audacious as a kind of a name for a band.
Well, audacious is what it's all about. If you ain't audacious, you ain't going to get nowhere.
Yeah, well, you're in a rock and roll band. You're supposed to be audacious, aren't you?
Yeah. I notice how prevalent your bass is in that Shake Some Action. Boy, the whole drive of that whole song is that bass going, bum, 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 bum. It's really amazing. I love that song.
Oh, yeah, well, you can thank Dave Edmonds for that, I mean, the part I play is actually quite simple. I'm actually, I'm a bit in awe of the fans' reactions this time around because we've been gone for. I just took my bass out of the closet after it's sitting there for 25 years, and I'm running into people like that are going, "I'm the greatest bass player on the planet." I'm going, "Get out of here!" I don't play anything that complicated, But I think what I do, and it's probably something I learned from from just my own appreciation of people that perform on stage, is that I sort of I dance to my bass parts. You know what I mean?
That's really good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's visual. You can tell.
Well, I used to be a dancer, and what the dancer dances to, it's the bass and the drums. They don't dance to the lead. It's the bass and the drums that the dancer dances to.
Right. So that's the kind of thing.
And it's not supposed to be complicated. It's just supposed to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Actually, I was going to tell you, I think you have a more difficult part than you probably realize, because what you do is you basically carry everybody else in a way, and you carry the melody with your counterpart, which is the counter melody. So I thought I'd point that out. I think it's really cool what you do, because you have literally you are the support system of the song, and that is, to me, amazing. So a heads up.
I need to tell this to the other guys.
All bass players need to tell it to the band that they're all riding on the bass and the drums. The bass and the drums is the whole bottom of the whole thing. Without that, I tried to explain this at one time that we were in a mix doing one of our new tunes, and I wanted more bass, And the way I got that to happen was I got a couple people to realize that when you're listening to someone playing music, you hear the guitar, but you feel the bass and drum. Right. Even deaf people can feel the bass. Deaf people, there's deaf people that dance, and what they are dancing to is that bass, because they can feel it in the floor. You can feel it in your bones.
Right. Yeah. The vibration. Yeah. No, that has to be part of the experience.
I'm going to go see you on Wednesday. This Wednesday, I'm going to go see you in Oakland. You're coming to my town. Isn't that great?
Yeah, really. I got a lot of cousins there I'll probably run into as well. I have generations of cousins that have not seen the band because they were little babies when we were doing it, But now they're all excited. I just, I'm pretty old school. I just got an iPhone not that long ago. and I'm still figuring it out. But also, I got on and said, "Oh, you got to get on Facebook. You got to get up." Okay, I get on Facebook. Next thing you know, I'm getting invited to my 50th high school reunion, from people, and and I'm running into people I haven't, maintained any contact with in 40 and 50 years. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I love about Facebook. That's where I booked this whole show, is out of Facebook. I found musicians I haven't seen in 40, 50 years, and we're all back together again.
Yeah, I know. And also, what's really cool is that FaceTime thing, because, my girlfriend's at home, and it's like, when you FaceTime, and it's like she's not very far away.
Oh, yeah.
She's there, either watching over me or watching me or whatever. And,
making sure you don't book up.
Yeah. Oh, should I answer
like
this?
a spider in the fly, huh?
Yeah, really. And but she's at home. I live in Arizona, and here I am back east freezing my butt off, because I called her a couple of days ago. How's the weather? Oh, it's 80 degrees out here. Oh boy, And but
where do you live, Phoenix or Tucson?
I'm about 30 minutes from the center of Tucson. I'm in a little suburb. Yeah, Tucson, Arizona. I love it.
It get hot there.
Oh yes, but I love more sunshine, and I love the heat. And I like.
I love San Francisco because it's cold and dank, and I'm kind of a vampire. I don't go out in the daytime. I wear a lot of costumes and velvet and stuff because it's cold.
Yeah, no, when I was living back then, in my earlier years, I could, I could stand the battering. But, I grew up mostly in the 60s. That was probably the high point of my, or at least one of the major high points of my life. That the whole social movement that was going on at the time, I was supposed to be going to, Stanford or UC or something. I was a straight A student. Next thing you know, my hair's getting a little long, And then I for sure, man, I turned on, tuned in, dropped out, did the whole number, man. Hung out Haight Street, lived in a commune with about 15 other people, And
San Francisco was a commune?
In San Francisco, yeah. It was called the 11th Avenue Circus, as it was dubbed by some DJ. And... we all hung out together. We all dropped acid together. The guy would come on the weekends with his big flatbed truck. We'd get on it. He'd drop us off at the Fillmore Avalon Ballroom, and we'd have a ball. We all watched out for each other. It was a good time. It was a lot of fun.
How did you get together with Ciro?
How did I get together with Ciro? Well, another place I used to hang out before that was a combination bowling alley, billiard hall, and a cafe, place called Castle Lanes, just up from the Cow Palace in San Francisco. And what happened was I started hanging out there because became friends with the night manager. And his name was Ray Epstor. We introduced him to Bill Graham later on, and he got a job there. Ended up managing Santana. But he needed company, it was just boring for him at night. So, me and a bunch of other guys would come around, we'd get free food, free bowling, free pool, and just hang out, sort of thing. And Cyril was there one day and talking on a telephone booth, and I was playing harmonica on the stairwell nearby, and he kind of waved me towards him, and he said, "Oh, play something from a girlfriend," So I played a few things, and then right after that was done, we started talking, and he said, I asked him, what are you up to? And he says, he's asking if I'm in a band because he saw the harmonica. I said, well, we're just starting, man, but, we need a lead guitar player. And just by coincidence, he says, I play lead, Oh, cool, man. Hey, you want to come jam with us, So we set that sort of thing up, and it was great because we all knew basically the same tunes, I think the first thing we played was "Baby, Please Don't Go," and that sort of thing. And he knew all the lead parts. He didn't know how to play chords back then, but he'd do all the lead parts to all these Rolling Stones songs and all these other, British Invasion, type things. And it was a blast,
Wasn't he about 15 or 16 at the time?
Yeah, he was. He was about 15 or 16. Yeah, so I
How
must have
old
been
were
about 18. I must have been 18.
Oh, you're the older one, boy. You corrupted the poor baby.
Yeah. I'm the 67 right now, and so this is a little unbelievable to me. Like I said, I retired from this 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
69, so you're a baby.
Oh, thanks. That makes me feel good.
There she goes.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, what possessed you to pick up the bass?
Well, because when I was learning how to play acoustic guitar and learning folk songs, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, New Christy Messer, all this stuff. And while I was trying to learn, I would go. I went to high school with Roy and Timmy, who were
Roy Loney, right?
Yeah, Roy Loney. And I used to go over to his house, and he'd show me how to play certain things, and how to play guitar, acoustic guitar. He'd teach me how to frame certain chords and things like that. And then one day I come over to his house, and he says, "I want to start a rock and roll band." I was like, "Oh, cool, man." He says, "Yeah, well, I'm going to be lead singer, and Timmy's going to play rhythm." And it was like, and I looked, I said, "Can I play bass?" I was looking for the simplest thing to do because I didn't want to play like lead guitar or drums. you know how difficult it is to have a whole drum kit to handle and move around. I asked if I could play bass. He says, "Yeah, okay, that's cool." So that's where that came from. And and then after that, like, we pulled Cyril in, and pretty much had an established band.
And you ended up at the Cowpels right off, right?
Yeah, that was one of the first things we ever did. It was a Battle of the Bands thing that we had to audition at I think it was Lincoln High School in San Francisco. We auditioned there, and then we were chosen to play at the Cow Palace at the final showdown of bands. I played one tune we did. I did harp, Night Owl Blues. Which was something I had heard off the Love and Spoonful's first album, and so I learned the whole thing, and we did that, stuff like that. But I think the thing was fixed. Some group, called, I think, Butch Engel and the Sticks were the.
So you played the Avalon a lot in the Fillmore Auditorium?
We did a lot of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, we were a San Francisco band, like all those others. We were like the next generation behind the Airplane, the Dead. All that kind of stuff.
And the Charlatans?
Yeah, the Charlatans, of course, and they started it all, their fault. And, I mean, the thing is that, we all knew each other. Everybody knew everybody else. And it's like, at one point, in fact, Graham, our first manager, used to work for Bill Graham. And also, when Graham left the old Fillmore Auditorium, which is on Fillmore and Geary, he needed a bigger venue. Things were getting so, out of hand that he took over the Carousel Ballroom on I think it's on Market Street and called it the Fillmore West, But after he had abandoned that, we took over the building and used it for rehearsals and stuff like that. And then after a while, we decided, well, why don't we put on some shows, And so we started doing shows there, when we were getting local bands and people like that. In fact, one of our better gigs was because we had been playing in Detroit. We were kind of like enamored of like Iggy and the Stooges and Alice Cooper. We brought them both out together, and that was one of the bills. We had Alice Cooper, Iggy and the Stooges, us, and a group called Commander Cody on the same bill.
Oh, I remember Commander Cody. His name is George too,
That's right. And I mean, it was a great show. It was like $2 to get in.
Well, I played at the Fillmore Auditorium on New Year's Eve of '69 going into '70. Now, Bill Graham didn't have it no more. I think Boots was booking it or playing there that night. And he had me and my guitar player come in because he was a friend of my guitar player's. And they didn't want to go on until midnight, so he says, "You have your guitars?" I said, "Sure, they're out in the cars." So he ran down Fillmore and got our guitars, and they threw us up on stage, and we were both doing different verses at the same time. I mean, we were so whacked out. I was doing one verse, he was doing another verse at the same time, and everybody else was so whacked out they didn't know the difference. So.
Well, the people, the audience could have been that way too. I mean, I can remember being carried out of the Fillmore Auditorium during one of the Grateful Dead's jam sessions or whatever they were playing. It just, I don't know. I guess it didn't suit me or whatever. I can remember seeing Bill Graham's face as I was being carried out, and like, oh no, But that's not to say that it probably was a cool jam, but it just didn't take it right. But the Grateful Dead, we're really appreciative of those guys. Like when we had the old Fillmore Auditorium, we were starting to get a little low on being able to afford to keep it, and they did twice. They came over and did benefits for us so we could keep the place going, for ourselves. That was pretty cool.
So how did Mike Wilhelm start playing with you?
That eventually happened when, boy, you're going to ask me about what year this happened and all that. I don't remember.
Probably about 1978, because that's when he was on my TV show.
Yeah, well, at that time, Chris was. We had Chris as our lead singer, and he had previous to that had been with Wilhelm in a band called Loose Gravel, and and that was sort of like, I guess it kind of like was falling apart. Chris was ready to go home, and we had just gotten separated from Roy, and we needed a lead singer, and we were friends with Chris, and we just asked him, don't go home, man. Why don't you, be our lead singer? And he went along with that, and then it was years later that one of our guitar players separated from us, and John was James Farrell, and we asked Mike to join, and sure enough, man, what an honor, man. Said yes. I mean, that guy can play.
Yeah, I've known Michael since back in the Charlatan days in the 60s.
Yeah,
so.
We've been
and he
used
to back me up all the time because I ran the coffee gallery and I had that TV show. Roy Loney was on my TV show, too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Mike was just an amazing guitar player, man. I can remember times it would be at somebody's house or something like that, and somebody had this funky old, guitar that, I surely couldn't play because the action's too high, and he could go for hours playing all this cool stuff, and it really sounded authentic, because of the guitar.
He could play all night, all day, and still play some more. And
that's right.
When we were playing, he'd reach over and not stop playing. He'd keep playing and reach over and tune my guitar because mine would be going out of tune. And he'd reach over and tune my guitar in the middle of the song.
Yeah. Well, Mike was great. I mean, tuning was an issue back then. Now we have tuners. That's really nice. We used to use our ears, and whoever we started tuning to, whatever guitar at all. By the time we got to the last guitar, it was like, we were still out of tune.
Well, I never learned how to tune a guitar. I would just hand it to my guitar player. I'd always have Mike Wilhelm or Carlos guitarist would be playing with me, so I just handed it to them before we go on, and I didn't have to deal with it because they had a great ear, and they had to have it exactly right or they'd go crazy. So I just handed my guitar, and then they'd take care of it.
Yeah. Well, back then, audiences were used to, because bands and the interaction between the bands, the audience was so loose that you could stand up there and tune your guitar, and nobody would get upset and say, "Come on, let's do the next song," or something.
Well, they could do it real fast. Michael can do it real fast.
Yeah, well, we didn't.
And he can do it mid-song, too.
Yeah, but, there were times that we had, like, 3 12-strings on stage.
Oh, Lord, those are hard.
That's a tuning nightmare, but, we wanted to sound, like if we were doing a Birds tune, we wanted it to really jangle,
Uh-huh. Understandable. I wanted to ask you, was there someone or something that led you to want to really play music?
Something that made me want to really play music? Yes.
Yes. What made you? Yes. What drove you to play music? What got you into it, or who or what?
It happened at Castle Lanes. There's a guy there by the name of Joe Kaplan. He's an authentic beatnik. He was a real beatnik. It's sort of like the end of that period. And he says, "Hey, let's go see a movie." So I said, "Sure, let's go, man." So I go in his van, and we drive to North Beach, and we're going to go to the North Beach Theater. And just as he stopped and parked, he looked at me and said, "You want to smoke a reefer?" And I went, "What?" I had just recently read the LaGuardia report, and as far as I could see, well, nothing wrong, there. So I said, "Sure, okay, I'll try it." By the time I got out of that van, I could not stop laughing. I was just like in the most hysterical mood you could believe. Everything was funny to me, So we're walking up to the theater, and I'm still like in stitches, laughing so hard that my jaw's getting locked. And I look at the marquee. It's Hard Day's Night. And I'm in this state for the first time, right? And then when I watched this movie, and I said to myself, "That's what I want to be. That's what I want to do with my life." So that's what got me into it.
I want to be the Beatles. I seen the Yellow Submarine at that same theater.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're responsible for corrupting a lot of our lives, aren't they?
Well, I was corrupt way long before. I've been working in bars since I was 16, which is about 1962.
Yeah, wow.
So I was corrupt long before the hippies came along.
Yeah. No, I was a bona fide hippie back then, I looked like an Apache Indian. I think I had hair down to my hips, wore a headband, torn jeans and moccasins.
Way to go, way to go.
You know, made my own beads, you know, wore them and stuff like that before the whole trip became commercialized. You know?
It was so great in those days. Everybody was so friendly, and they all had smiles on their face. I guess it was drugs for the smiles, but they were all happy, and they talked to each other, and they were real friendly back then.
I don't know if anything like that will ever happen again, but you'd walk around, you'd say hi to somebody on the street. Next thing you know, you're eating dinner at their house, maybe even staying over, you know, they're coming over to your place, and it's just like, you know, there's no obligation to ever meet again, but it was just a nice, you know, social event.
And you hitchhike around, and people would pick you up, and it was great.
Yeah, it was terrific, you know. But like I said, you know, I guess when word got out that it was so cool over there, you know, next thing I know, I'm looking up and there's these tour buses going down, you know, down the street.
It was that song, If You're Going to San Francisco, and everyone came.
Oh, jeez, they sure did, you know. But, yeah, I think it lasted maybe about 3 years before the whole thing was just shot, you know. I mean, all the bad drugs from the East Coast came over to where we were. I mean, our drugs of choice over in the West Coast was just, you know, basically pot and acid, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, back east, man, they were bringing over, like, the hard stuff.
Heroin and speed,
and strong.
But by that time, I went to Nashville. See, like in '71, I went to Nashville, and it was just starting there.
Yeah.
So it started the whole hippie thing in Nashville in '71 to '73. So I kind of skipped out when they got into the real heavy drugs and
no, I you know, I don't want people to think I'm still you know, into all that kind of stuff. I quit smoking pot 30 years ago. You know, believe it or not.
Well, you can't do it forever.
But you know, I actually get maybe this will help some people. I actually got paranoid reactions now whenever I try to smoke pot, so I can't do it anymore. And it just happened one time. I was just totally stoned out of my head, and I realized I had kids. And what if it was one of those what if things? Questions popped into my head that you know, they needed me for some kind of emergency or something. Can I handle it in this state? And I just got paranoid. I got on a paranoid trip about it, and then every time after that, I tried to smoke pot. I said, forget it. I can't enjoy it anymore.
Well, I would never do acid again.
Yeah. No, well, you know, it was great. Yeah, believe it or not, it was therapeutic for me, you know, back then. You know, that's another one I really don't recommend for people unless you don't mind, you know, the consequences that are possible. But although I have to give it some credit for you know, helping me in some events, you know, like for example, I got drafted, you know, you know, and everybody we knew was going to Vietnam, and it was funny because just prior to that, when I got out of high school, my last assignment in my history class was Vietnam, and when I found out what we were doing there and what it was all about, I couldn't believe it. I said, why are we there? You know, this is wrong. You know, this is the wrong way to do this sort of thing. And I felt bad for the people that did go over there because they didn't know the real story about what was going on. You know, supporting a corrupt government and turning down aid to the guy that first asked us for it, which was Ho Chi Minh. And, you know, we said no, and so he turned to China. And next thing you know, there's a big battle going on, and they said yes. You know, anyways, I told my father when I got drafted, you know, he spent 3 years in a Japanese war camp in Bataan, did the Bataan Death March and all that. And I asked him, what am I supposed to do? When I explained all this to him, he says, hey, war is hell. I'll support you whatever you decide. So what I decided to do was do a study on manic depression. And then I dropped acid the day I was supposed to go there. And I actually added also some dexedrine to make sure that my blood sugar would match the condition, you know, of that you know, diagnosis. And when I got there, my hair was way down to my, you know, halfway down to my hips. And I remember the last thing I did was I walked into a psychiatrist's office, and I never made any eye contact with him, and my hair was hanging halfway over my face, so I kind of walked sideways into the office. He told me to sit down. I sat down. He went through a series of questions, but here's where the acid kicked in. He asked me, do you like people? And I said, no. And he said, why? I said, because they're always picking at me with their eyes. And, you know, him knowing that I never made eye contact, of course he's going to have a, you know, next thing I know, this piece of paper is handed to me in front of me. He says, here, take this to the front desk. And that was it. I was 4F. You know? But, you know, that's not the most original way I've heard. I heard about this one guy that went in there, and he stuck a bunch of peanut butter up his ass. Right?
Ew.
And when he got down to stripping for the physical, he started reaching down there with his finger and putting it in his mouth.
Ew.
And they threw him out. He
was desperate to get out, wasn't he?
Well, it was pretty original. I thought that was great.
Oh, my God, that's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. I have a question. You've been traveling and touring a lot. I want to know about how that makes you feel, about the whole traveling and touring experience with the Groovies. How does it feel for you?
How's it feel? I guess anybody that's in a band knows it can be very exhausting because, my whole regimen since I retired has changed considerably. I'm not eating what I should be eating. I'm not sleeping as much as I should be sleeping. The only real exercise I'm getting is when I'm on stage. And I let it all loose up there, that sort of thing. But it's a little rough. So I say, hey, I want to do this for the fans and all that, but I also want to be a little compensation, for the suffering part of it, it can be a little rough, And
so you have kids now? Do you have kids?
Yes, I have two daughters. My oldest one is 45. I think the youngest one is about 43. I have one of them has two. I have two grandkids from one, another grandkid from that I went to see in Maryland, and I have and her daughter had a kid just 6 months ago. So for the first time since she was born, I got to hold my great granddaughter in my arms, and
wow,
that's amazing,
poignant.
And
you're married? Are you married to the same one from a long time ago?
I have a girlfriend that I've been with for since 1988.
Oh.
Her and I together. Right now, at home, to fill that empty space without the kids, we have pets. Actually, we're down to one dog now, and she's babysitting him because he's a little geriatric, and it's sort of like needs some special care. I don't know how much time I got here because it's a sort of a short story that if you want to hear about my dog.
Go ahead, go.
You do? Oh, okay. Well, thing is like he was. He's my buddy. I love this dog. And he was diagnosed, his nose started bleeding. I took him to the vet. They diagnosed him, did a biopsy and said he had nasal carcinoma. And I said, oh, my God. So I went to a second vet to get a second opinion. It's the same thing. I said, he's got 3 tops, 8 months. So what best we can do is send you to, I was living in California at the time, best we can do is send you to UC Davis. They teach veterinarians there. They did a battery of tests. Said, I think we can extend his life to 20 months with radiation treatment, but it'll be an intense recovery because it's very hard. It's going to be very hard on his system. And so we went back home thinking, oh, my God, do we want to do this to put it through all that suffering for just to extend his life that much? So what my girlfriend does is she goes to the Internet and she concocts this diet, organic diet of organic beef, collard, kale, shiitake mushrooms, and a lot of carrots, and a couple of other additives, right? And I noticed after about the second week, he looked more energetic. His head was up, And it's been about 5 years.
Oh, since that happened?
Since that happened.
Wow.
Since he was diagnosed.
How old is he now?
17.
Wow. My dog lived to be almost 18, and then she kind of checked out.
So needless to say, it affected my diet, And,
so now you eat the doggy's diet to stay healthy, right?
Pretty close. Yeah. It works.
Yes.
Yeah. It bolstered his immune system. He was able to keep it out, from doing him in.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, but now at his age,
you guys are on tour now, and you're going to record pretty soon.
Yeah, I think when we get back, either when we get back to, I'm not sure if we're going to be recording as soon as we get back to San Francisco or later on in the month of December. They were also talking about doing it then as well. We've got 3 songs in the can. I don't know if anybody's heard End of the World. That was the first thing we cut. And he still has shown me some of the other tunes that he would like to do that he's written, and my jaw dropped. Every time we do an album, I think, "Wow, man, how are you gonna top that?" He topped it. I could not.
Do you write too, or is it just Cyril
no.
and Chris?
Yeah, no, it's Cyril and Chris, and Yeah, no, my jaw dropped when he showed me some of the tunes he wanted us to record, and I just couldn't believe it. You know, he's topped himself again.
That's great.
Awesome.
Can't wait for it to come out. It was really nice talking to you. I think our time is just about up.
Yes, it is actually. Yes, what an awesome afternoon it was. Great stories, great conversation, and so much more to go. Please check out the show right after it clicks off, everybody. Also, be sure to check out Anything and Everything Flamin'Groovies on Facebook and much, much more. Girl George is going to be promoting more Flamin'Groovies stuff, and so will I. And George, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on GPR. It is a joy that you are here. I enjoyed an awesome afternoon with you. And Girl George, you rock, my sister.
And that's the Facebook is the Flamin'Groovies.
The Flamin'Groovies, absolutely. Yes, of course. Check out the Flamin'Groovies, everybody. I am the Gypsy Poet signing off saying adieu for now.
Ciao.
Sitting in a booth up above a crowd, seems like a wizard just playing with the crowd. He can make the room move, stand up and howl. Some folk call him Muzz, some folk call him out. Downtown Thursday night, no telling night, oh yeah. Out for anything goes, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah. There are no signs on U.S. Street. Gotta look to find the door. If they don't like you, they do it his. If your heart made you for more. Downtown Thursday night goes to the night, oh yeah. Out for anything goes, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah. Downtown Thursday night, don't tell a night, oh yeah. Out for anything goes, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah. The head it moves from week to week. The bar moves around a bit too. If you like your